Perfect. Stay there. We're going to wait 1 more minute to start 9:10, and we will. Okay, perfect. Thank you all for being here today with us. We're really excited to have you in this Thursday, April, to learn about how AI for small business unleash the powerful advantage of migrating to AWS Cloud. Uh, can you move to the next slide, please? To give you more context, what we're going to show you today, this is the agenda we're planning. This is the introduction of One Data Software and ARK Global Partners. We're doing an alliance worldwide, basically starting from US, but we're looking into Mexico and Latin America as well, because of the thing right now to digital transformation for a small business is very important. So doing this kind of alliance with ARK Global allowed us to do this kind of not only of migrating, but everyone is looking for AI. In order to move to the AI environment, it's very important to understand where we are located right now. If we have some pains needs in order to be in the digital transformation. So based on that, AI, machine learning is going to be very helpful for your business once you're already in the cloud. So the second part will be about what matters most to small business owners, and that's from Anthony Kitchens, the managing partner from ARK Global Partners. Then we will move to the powerful advantage of migrating to AWS Cloud with Sydney, our AWS Senior Solution Architect. And then we will have 10 minutes for questions and answers, and we will give you the next steps as well for all the exclusive benefits we have from you from AWS. Next slide, please. Well, my name is Humberto Rosales. I'm located in Querétaro, Mexico, and I'm responsible for the business development in North America, including US, Canada, and Mexico. And I will be more than glad to help you in your digital transformation. Next slide, please. To give you a context about One Data, we're a software development agency and IT consulting as well. Our main presence is in US, Canada, India, and Mexico. From that, we have nearshore, onshore, and offshore capabilities to help you to do digital transformation. As well, the highlights, this case studies, we have worked with the small business, startups as well. The services we have, it's a huge portfolio that can help you to grow in the smarter way, in a scalable way as well. Part of the certifications we have more than 100 people certified globally from the solutions architect, AI, machine learning, and we're ready to help you to move forward. The cloud services, partner programs, and this kind of industries, we are specialized from healthcare, energy, manufacturing, fintech, logistics, retail, education, agriculture, and more. We will be more than happy to help you to this. What we do is we do the fabric software, but also we help for the IT consulting. Let's suppose you're a small business, but you're it's a restaurant, right? So based on that, you don't have perhaps the strong IT team to support you, or they are not certified, and you're 100% focused on your business. So that's why this kind of alliance with ARK Lovers and One Data, we help your business to be stronger, and we can help you regarding the AWS Cloud, the AWS reports, the AWS services. So you don't have to be worried on that, and you have to focus on what you do the best. So next slide, please. Part of the global operations we have from One Data right now is Canada, as I mentioned before, US. We have some in Venezuela, which is Latin America, Argentina, but we also have operations right now in customers in India, Sri Lanka, Nigeria, Italy, and we just opened Mexico operations. So by now, I will introduce to you Tony Kitchens. Tony Kitchens is a managing partner from ARK Global Partners, and we will be more than happy to help you in this case. Go ahead, Tony, and thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Umberto. Appreciate it. Anthony Kitchens of ARK Global Partners, as Umberto mentioned, and I've been an entrepreneur for 34 years, running 6 companies during that time. So I really understand the small business space. And as we define small business, especially here in the US, the Small Business Association indicates that any business with less than 1,500 employees is still technically considered a small business. You and I may believe that that's a really big business, a big corporation, but that's how it's defined. So small business for us is not necessarily just a one-man operation, but it's also for larger organizations within that definition, really trying to help them achieve their business goals. Can we go to the next slide, please? What we did was we took a poll of our clients and prospective clients, and we really wanted to talk to small business owners to understand what are the things right now that are most important to them. And some of you can probably relate to some of the 5 things here that businesses said are really important to them. And the surprising thing for us when it came to small business was that the thing that we thought was most important from what we've heard probably in the past year compared to now was to grow revenue. Most small businesses said we need more customers, right? And that was a year ago. But today, that dynamic has changed for business owners. And what they said that they're looking for most is a way to manage their cash flow. So what that tells me is, as you look out here in the business world and everything that's going on geopolitically, everything across the world, small business owners are trying to figure out how to do more with what they have. They're trying to figure out how to take the revenue that's coming in today and be able to hire more people, to buy more supplies so they can deliver them to clients, how to serve customers better, the whole customer satisfaction model. Growth is something that's important, and it fell right in the middle of their needs, their desires, and their wants as small business owners. The second thing was not very surprising when you look at improving operational efficiency. And as we dug into that with some of the clients, what they basically said was this: look, we know how to do what it is that we do. We know how to be good cooks at our restaurants. We know how to be good construction companies, right? We know how to build buildings. We know how to do consulting. We know how to do, all of the services, the products that they deliver. They know that extremely well. What they tend to have a need for is to run an efficient operation. So as we know, the evolution of business is going from being that person who's doing all of the work when you first start out. You're the one in front of the customer doing the service, selling the product. And as your business evolves and as it grows and you bring employees in, whether you have a small team of 2 or big team of 200, what happens is you slowly make the evolution from practitioner to business owner. And then the question is, how do I prepare for this? I'm really good at the construction piece, but I'm not really good as an owner of a business. So when they look at that, they really want help learning what it is to run an efficient operations, right? And all of that. Can we go back to the previous slide for a second? Yep. So when you look at that, then the next thing was, now they started to dig into, if I want to run efficient operations, then this automate their routine tasks, right? And what does that mean? That means, how do they do the same things that they do as a company every single day if it's a repetitive process? Is there a way to automate that? And we're not talking about robotics, but I'll give you an example. Is there a way to, instead of doing a manual social media post every single day, creating content today, posting it today, can that be automated so that you can do a content day, right? Maybe on the weekend, or your team can do it on one day and schedule that to go out over the next 2 or 3 weeks. That's a very simple form of customer engagement that's automated. So this doesn't have to be complex. The same thing goes with other things in the operation of a business that they're trying to figure out, how do I take that and make it more efficient so that we as an organization can focus on selling? So that when we get our revenue in, we're spending that revenue, like they said from the very beginning, in a more efficient and effective manner so that we can stretch it out longer, especially in these difficult times. And then the other area of focus that they really talked about was using data. But this one was interesting to us because it wasn't that they were using data, is they felt that they weren't using data in an effective manner. I'll give you a case in point. One example of that was a customer who sells bicycles, and they have about 12 different SKUs, 12 different types of bikes that they sell. And the data that they had was emotional data, meaning that, when I asked, okay, what's the top seller? Well, we think it's the such and such because we sell that mountain bike a little bit more during the summer. But when they actually looked at data, we did a data comparison for them. What they actually found out was it wasn't those mountain bike, those trail bikes. It was a different model of bike that sold more consistently throughout the year. Well, what does that show you as a small business owner? What does data do for your company? Data allows you to take a very non-emotional approach. Let me look at exactly what sold, who purchased it, what time of the year, what variation, and what price point. And then when you take all of the information back, and as an executive team, as leadership team of your organization, you can say, wow, we sold more of X product than we did of Y. And we understand now because the price point was a little bit lower, that time of year that we sold it, it was really beneficial. So what does that do for a small business? It allows you to take that data and now focus in on what's selling and drive more of that. And the interesting thing is every single customer we've had that used data wound up eliminating something that was not selling. When they realized they were wasting time, social media ads, promotions on a product that barely sold anything. So when they took away resources, people, and money from trying to sell that low performing product and put it into the product that sold the most, they instantly increased revenue. Next slide. As a business owner, these are feelings that I've had as well over the years, right? And our team can tell you that these are some of the things that we deal with every single day. And I know that you as a business owner do, a leader of your organization, is you are busy just trying to keep the doors open, right? We have a huge amount of tariffs today. We have trade policies. There's so much that is going on that we're just waking up every single day feeling a sense of chaos. And what we want to do most is protect that business because this is our means to take care of our family. Our business is the thing that we've created to be able to pay tuition for our kids to go to school, to be able to take care of aging parents, to be able to provide a lifestyle that we want to have. And we're busy doing that. And it's hard to get away from that every single day. But as a business owner, that's only one piece of the responsibility that we have. The second thing is this unclear return on investment, right? Uncertain value is our money is very important to us. The top priority, as we just listed, was managing those internal expenses, right? Managing our cash flow. So when you go to now, you're looking at spending some more money on something that you're not sure if you're going to get a return on it, right? And that's a hard thing for business owners to do unless they understand that the return is going to give them a certain benefit in their business. It's no different than when you have to go out and now you're going to do a mailing, an email campaign, you're going to buy ads, and it's $500 or $5,000. The first thing you think of when you run that is, if I spend 5,000, am I going to get 15,000 back in sales? The answer is you don't know until you try it. So it's the same thing when you're thinking about AI and cloud and innovating your business is, if I spend X, am I going to get Y? And the reality is that there is no 100% answer to that question. It's all about the execution. It's about the timing, and it's about what investment you're looking to do. Disconnected tools, what that means is a lot of small businesses we see are still running on spreadsheets. They have their inventory in a spreadsheet with the part number or price and quantity, for example. And then they're trying to do marketing. How do you go from a spreadsheet to a really robust marketing campaign? Or how do you go from a spreadsheet to predictive analytics where you can look at a system and see that the next 3 months are going to be really good for your company because it's the summertime and you're selling a product that does really well in the summer? A spreadsheet, going from a spreadsheet to that analytical data is a far stretch, and they're disconnected. One of the things about migrating to the cloud that's extremely important is it brings all of that information, that data together so that you don't have disparate systems and information just floating around in your business. The next thing was the lack of technical staff. This is a pressing issue because you go back to that first most important thing is managing your revenue. Well, now if you have to hire people, and the belief is when you do innovation and you do a digital transformation, you have to hire a bunch of people. The old days, that was actually true. You had to bring on some high paid talent. You weren't really sure what they were doing. They were the quote IT people. And it just seems like you always had technical issues. So why do you have this person on staff? Those are the old days. Now, when you look at the lack of technical staff, it's not that way anymore, because when you deal with cloud solutions, what you're really dealing with is a tech team that is there for you 24 hours a day for a very low cost. When I say low cost, it's almost minimal compared to having a full-time IT person. And then the thought becomes, well, am I giving up control of my technology? Am I giving up control of my systems? Do I have people with my passwords? And are they going to use that information in a good way, in a positive way? Are we going to have downtime on the weekend and they're off? And the answer to that, as we'll get into shortly with the rest of the presentation, is no. That you're going to have, when you migrate to the cloud, you'll have way more technical resources than you can ever physically hire full-time on your staff. And as a business owner, that's extremely important, because when we migrate to AWS, for example, we didn't feel like we were giving up control. We felt like we opened our business up to this level of support that allowed us to just go out and sell and help our clients and to solve their problems. We didn't have to deal with the minimal restrictions of the IT guy and growing out of that. We felt like we now could go anywhere in the world and do business in any market because we were empowered. We weren't restricted by a person. And then the last thing I would say is the fear of cost and complexity. That's always a certain issue that we have as business owners. Well, what's the cost? Right? And then when we start talking about, well, how complex is it? Not just from a cost perspective, but to implement it. Is that difficult to do? The answer is yes. Let's be honest. It used to be extremely difficult to do. Prices were uncertain. We didn't know. There was always a variation. You migrate, you buy into a new system, and then all of a sudden, here come all of these hidden fees, and it was so complex. Those days are over when it comes to modern migration, and we'll show you along the way in this presentation how that works. Okay, next slide, please. So here are a couple of quick points I would use for closing as we speak to you all as business owners. The thing that I would tell you is, again, understanding the shoes that you walk in and understanding what's important to you, that you're not far from where you're trying to go. With the business, we're always looking at what that exit strategy is. Are we going to sell? Are we going to turn it over to our kids or to family members? Are we looking for someone to acquire us and we still stay on from a management standpoint? But we're closer to realizing those dreams and those goals than we ever have before. The reason is because now small businesses have the exact same tools that enterprises have. You have the tools that the IBMs of the world. You have the same tools that Pepsi and Coca-Cola and PricewaterhouseCoopers and Macy's and all of these big brands and Nike and Under Armour, Lululemon, you have the same tools available to you today than they've had for a number of years. And here's the reality: it's not as expensive as you would believe it would be just because corporations are using it. So as we pull back the layer and we unpeel this onion, and we see now that we have an advantage, that you are more agile, you can compete with companies you thought you couldn't compete with before. That's the beauty of migrating to the cloud. And this whole term of migrating, let's just demystify it. It means instead of having all of your stuff, your technology stuff, sitting in a closet in your office, it's now spread out over data centers all over the world so that there's redundancy. If there's a fire, don't worry about it. Your data is backed up in several different countries. If there's war or famine or anything else, your data is protected in several different countries. So migrating just means taking what you have on site, putting it in the cloud in an even more secure manner. When we look at AWS, which is our partner, as well as One Data, they are premier partners for Amazon Web Services. Amazon, out of the three biggest players in the cloud space, they are by far the number one. And the reason is they have so many locations around the world where they have information stored, where they process your data, that redundancy, that backup that you're looking for. And the one thing about AWS that we like, and I know that One Data Solution likes as well, is they have excellent customer service, meaning that they don't leave you alone and leave you on your own when you're in the cloud. They're extremely responsive, and we are as partners as well to facilitate whatever it is that you need. So we don't leave you on your own once you've moved to the cloud. As a matter of fact, the relationship grows closer because once you're there, as you'll learn, that you're going to see so many opportunities to build out your space, to build out product, to adopt AI and chatbots and eventually AI agents. And you're going to lean on your providers even more as strategy consultants, as trusted advisors. And that's what we're here to get across to all of you all today, that this is not a journey that anyone is asking you to take on your own. So with that being said, we'll go to the next slide and we're going to introduce our next presenter. And here he is, the man himself. So Srini, it's up to you. And I hope that everybody got some value out of the understanding of the small business piece of this.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for your good introduction and about like the business point and the business pain that we face in the day-to-day activities. Hello team. I'm Srinivasan Lingiraj, AWS Solution Architect, One Data Software Solutions. So we have a peoples of 135 plus peoples working in an organization where we have around 40 plus peoples, all have been technically like certified, globally certified peoples. So where we help with the customers in migrating as well as in the cloud adoption works. So any kind of cloud adoption works, yes, we are here to help you. And we are happy to say that we are advanced partners in AWS, and maybe in a couple of months, we'll be into the premium path into the servicing, consulting services in the AWS partner portal. So with this small introduction, I'll be starting myself in the journey of the cloud. So I think major of our people's like we are aware of cloud. So first introduction, I'll just give what is cloud. So cloud is just a simple thing like what we do in the day-to-day activity. It is a IT delivery system like whatever you do, but you are doing through everything through the internet with a pay-as-you-go pricing. So that is what we define cloud as. So the major benefits of using cloud computing is the first major thing is like you have a very lower computing cost. You don't need to worry about the cost like, because you don't want to have buy a set of rack servers or any other servers to be placed for you, and then you don't have to work for. You don't need to spend on those things. Instead, you have just like you wanted to use any kind of services, you could just rent it from the AWS, the cloud, and you have the computing services where you're just going to pay only for what you use and not going to purchase anything on your own. Okay, so that is the first major benefit. And next is a improved performance. Improved performance. So as we know, cloud is the initial stage, like it has been come only with the part of having only for storage purpose. And later, now, like we are using in the AWS part, or not only in AWS, but in all the cloud, there are around 200 plus IT services that's been implemented into day-to-day activities. You want to do any kind of IoT services, we have a service. You want to do any kind of Gen AI related services, yes, you could do it in the cloud. You wanted to do the development works, yes, we have it in the cloud. So any kind of services, you wanted to have a database, you want to have a virtual server, so everything has been available now in the cloud. Cloud is going to be in the future, in the present, and it's going to be extended into the future. And regarding the IT maintenance, you don't need to worry about the IT maintenance. As Tony was mentioning, that you don't want to have a separate IT team to have manage and maintain your servers all the time, because it is not the thing what we have to worry. The point what we have to worry is only about the business. The business is the major concern. What we have to, like that is only you have to your scope. You don't need to worry about things like we have a service. So AWS is having around, like as mentioned, so at the top three cloud service providers, AWS stands at the top because they have multiple regions. They have around 32 regions around the globe. They have multiple availability zones. So the availability zones, like they have, like a set of data centers, thousands of data centers that has been managed by AWS itself. You don't need to worry about anything. You just wanted to worry only about your solutions and the software and the other thing like you want to have in your business. So that is all what we need. So you have your server, you manage, you don't need to manage it. You just get it, purchase it, you work, you deliver it. So that is all AWS or any other cloud providers is expecting thing. And it is device independent. So device independent. So as we know that you have your server, you don't need to run into your office, see like what happened to your server if there is any natural disaster that has been happened. So because it is all being managed and maintained somewhere else, you you wanted to work anywhere. Yes, you have a laptop, you have a mobile phone. Yes, you could work anywhere. All the thing like what only you need is internet. So it is more like like it is very device independent. And next point is like about the business connectivity. Business connectivity, as we mentioned, like like you store your data in a physical server. You just have a comparison. You just store all your data in your on premises. What happens if any disaster happens? You have to lose all your data. You don't have any kind of backup. But in the case of AWS or in any cloud, what happens is that you could have your data stored in multiple regions, in multiple places. So what happens if there is any disasters happening in this particular region? You don't need to worry. You have a backup that has been stored in some other region where that data will be taken and show you into the production. It will be live all the time. Okay, so that is what we call the business connectivity and easily upgradable. As mentioned, like for the past 15 years, like AWS has started from storage and networking as the initial part, and now, as I mentioned, it has been upgraded day-to-day activities. Any kind of Gen AI services you wanted to work, yes, you could work. So that is all the major benefits of using cloud computing. Next slide, please. Now, so I just that was a small introduction about the cloud computing and AWS. So now we're going to get into the project phase. So the major thing, like what we are focusing over here in this part is like about migrating from on-premises to AWS. So we actually go into five different phases. So these phases are where we are going to help you to understand what your data is and how it is going to be in the stage by stage, and what happens when you go and after the post go live. So what happens? How could we help you? So that this all comes under these phases. Phase one, that comes the strategy and the assessment. Next slide, please. So into the strategy and assessment. So this is like as mentioned, this is the like a transformation from on-premises to AWS. So the business strategy and the assessment. The first thing is like we have to understand what kind of business objective that you are working with. So that business objective, first, the goal of the business objective is always the cost reduction. And then the major thing, like you wanted to scale up everywhere. So you wanted to grow your business. So scalability is another part. And then when you started to scale or when you have your own business, the next part is like about the security. So security is a major concern because wherever you have security plays a major role. So there are a lot of holes like you wanted to, many things can happen. So security is the major concern, like what we worried, about the data, about the customer data, even that you too very too, and about the next innovation. So what is the next innovation that has been happening? So these are the major things where the business objective has to be defined in the first phase, and then we'll be getting into the current infrastructure. So current infrastructure, first you might be having your own physical server, or you might be having in some other cloud service. So we need to understand like what kind of softwares that you use, what is the storage that you have in your services, what kind of dependencies that you have with your application. It might be a SaaS product, or it can have you any kind of product, so software dependent product. So what is the dependencies that you have? So in understanding about the current infrastructure, that helps us to go move forward to identify and like move to the AWS part. So migrating into the AWS part. And next is like we need to identify the cloud readiness and the feasibility study here. So once we have understand about like what is your current infrastructure, we help you to migrate, understanding like what kind of migration strategy has to be used. There are like different migration strategies. We call it as a rehost, we call it as a refactor, re-architect, rebuild, or replace it. So you wanted to do a kind of lift and shift alone? Yes, we could help you. You wanted to completely re-architect your whole application? Yes, we could help you. So these are the different, like different strategies that you have to understand in the first phase, and only then we'll be moving into the next phase of getting into the migration or any other things. So here, while we started to do, so we will initially will help you to identify the cost optimization, the total cost of the ownership. You know, we know that you have your own system, you paid it for once and you're not paying for that one lifetime. But when you go with AWS, you think like you have to pay for as on pay as you go pricing. So what happens? The pay every month, you don't need to worry about that we have a plan. We will give you like this is your pricing, exact pricing that is going to happen when you started to migrate from your on premises or from any other cloud into the AWS. And then you have your fixed price, or there may be a variation in just 2 like 10%. So this is a kind of a small difference that you have. So we are going to identify and analyze what kind of AWS services can help you to migrate. And then, so we will give you a kind of a total cost of ownership, and that is going to happen. And after that, so we are going to help you to identify, once it is all been identified, if it is a kind of a healthcare related services, yes, we are going to help you with a HIPAA certification also, because it is a major concern, like where you have your application. So you wanted to have a HIPAA certification is a major concern. So yes, we'll help you with the HIPAA concern. If there is something related to card information related, yes, we will help you with the PCI DSS compliances. Any kind of identify regulatory or any kind of compliances, yes, we will understand in the first phase, and then we'll be moving into the next phase. Next slide, please. Second phase is the planning and the designing phase. So the planning and the designing phase is that first, like once we started to identify what is the strategy of your business, and we identify like what kind of compliances that you wanted to work on. And once it is all been understood, and then we'll be working on the migration strategies. There are several migration strategies, as I mentioned, like a kind of a refactor, reform, a re-architect, or any kind of, like any kind of migration strategies. First, that is all been understand, we are going to create a like a adoption, a cloud adoption framework that has to be chosen for you. A kind of what kind of data you have, only a database, so you have to migrate only the database. Yes, we'll be help you only with services, with the AWS native services. We call it as database migration services. You wanted to migrate only a server, you want to have a database in the physical server itself. Yes, we could help you. We could have server migration services. You want to completely migrate your whole application, which includes your database as well as your servers. Everything has to become from your on-premises or from your cloud server into the AWS. Yes, we could help you using a tool which is a cloud native tool called as MGN. We call it as an application migration services. So these tool has been properly identified and the proper strategy, and then here starts. And then like once it is all done, we're going to help you with the architectural design. So architectural design, it comes with the different things. The first, the infrastructure. Infrastructure is a major concern where we are going to work. So here, the infrastructure, yes, we're going to provide or define or design you a secure VPC. We call it as a virtual private cloud. We are going to have a separate network for you, where you're going to have a separate, like a static IP. for your server, where that is going to be pointed or mapped with your domain name, where that is going to have, like several availability zones, where you wanted to have three availability zones to have a data secured. If this availability zones, you wanted to have another availability zone. Yes. So like we're going to design that particular architecture for you. And once it is all done, and we're going to create a security group for you, that security group is going to allow what kind of traffic that has to come into your application. Whether your database is there, your database has not to be accessed directly from the third party users. It has to come into your server, and only the server users have to access your database. Yes, that kind of secured VPC connection will come under the architectural design. So that is what we do. And then when we started to create your AWS account, yes, we are going to work on identity and access management, where we call. So this is the place where, like we have several users. Like you want, you have your AWS account. You are going to be the root user. AWS never recommend the root user to do all the works. Instead, AWS recommends to create a IAM user. We call it as an IAM user, where it is having a least level of permissions. Whatever the permissions that has to be worked from that particular concerned person, it has to be given to that person, where he started to work, he started to analyze everything, he started to design and the whole infrastructure. So these all comes under the design and the planning phase. Here we also, not only with this we are going to add the data and the security strategy also. Meanwhile, in the phases itself, we will be starting in the design, in the data and the security phases, where we'll be planning for your disaster plan as well as the backup plan. So all these will be started doing in the it'll all be planned and designed in the second phase. Can you get into the next slide, please? And into the third phase, once the planning and the designing has been done. Now, so here what we additionally do for the clients. So you don't know like what how the data is going to be happen, how the data is going to be migrated. You have to worry because you are new into cloud. You don't want to blindly believe on us like how it is going happening. So here comes with a, like a kind of a new strategy what we have planned. You could choose any kind of a non-critical testing workload. Okay, you could just give this. You could say like, yeah, this part is not a critical part. Yes, you could take this. You just make us a POC and give it to us. Once the POC has been approved, and like you could validate the POC. Once it has all been tested and validated, and you say like your team is good with this, and then only then we will be start moving into the complete migration of your data or your application piece. So that is what we are expertise in. And also like we could also able to get you a kind of a credits for this POC. So whatever you do, whatever the workload you have, you do. Yes, we could get a credits for your AWS account, which will be helping for you during the migration phase until the development phase is completed. So the free POC can be done. So this free POC will be included with few hours, and there is some credits. So that can be discussed during the, like that can be discussed after the call, like maybe at the end of the call, we'll be discussing about the what kind of credits we could give to you, and how many number of hours our team can spend with you during the POC, and after post live, how many hours we can spend. So it has all been planned during this phase. So as I mentioned, you don't need to worry about like you don't need to worry blindly giving your whole data set and migrating from your on-premises to where you store for. You might be having the on-premises, and you don't need to worry about that one. Completely migrating to AWS, and you don't need to worry about that. So we could choose a kind of a non-critical workload as a testing migration. We could start that. We could do as a proof of concept. We could start migrating completely. We will show how this part is working in AWS. We could give you a QA report also, where that QA report will includes the performance testing, the load testing, all kind of like acceptance testing, all kind of testing will be done over there, and that will be given to you. And once it has all been approved and agreed, we'll be moving into the complete migration phase. Next slide, please. So once the POC has been completed, so here comes the full scale, like the migration and the optimization phase. So during this migration phase, so we don't want directly all the workloads, all the existing workloads to be directly into the production environment. So here what we have planned is like we have been planning into different phases, like executing into different phases. We call it as a sandbox account. So we'll be moving into different sandbox account, where initially you will be having a separate AWS account for your, like the development phase alone. So once the development phase, you have all the test workloads done, the developers will be keep working over here on the DevOps peoples also will be keep working over here. So this development phase is only for development alone. That is not going to trouble anywhere into your production phase. And then once this phase is done, we'll be creating another environment, other sandbox environment called as a staging or a QA environment, where this environment here, what happened is that you could have a separate team from your side, or we could also help you in giving a QA team to test and validate it. Like whatever the data you have, it is all been migrated, tested properly. You have so all kind of testing can be done in the different environment called as a staging or a QA environment. So these are the two different environment. When it is all been validated and approved from your side and as well as from the infrastructure team side, so we then finally move the staging of the QA phase into the production phase. So while you into the production phase, this production will be keep running 24/7 because your application is it is very complex. We know about that. We'll be working, we'll be helping you with like all kind of high availability and a scalable infrastructure for you where any number of users comes, you don't need to worry. You any number of traffic that has been occurring, you don't need to worry about the load or any kind of traffic or any kind of latency. You don't need to worry about that. So we're going to test and validate in such a very like very high condition, like your production will never go down anytime. Even we'll be doing a kind of a disaster recovery plan and a backup plan in the staging phase. We will give a report of everything that has been done over there, and then only then it will be moved into the production phase. So that is what the environment sandbox environment what we have been planning. And in addition, like we'll be implementing CI/CD pipelines also. You wanted to make any changes, you have your developer working in the development environment. You wanted to make the same changes into the staging or QA phase. It has all been tested without any downtime. You wanted to move everything to the production. Yes, without a downtime or whatever the changes that has been made in the QA or the staging phase, that will be moved immediately into the production phase. So that is where we are going to implement the continuous improvement and the continuous deployment pipelines in your AWS infrastructure. And as mentioned, like we are not going to work anything manually in the system. We are not going to touch anything manually. So the major, like the plus or like the best part, like what we do in One Data is that we completely work only everything as an infrastructure as a code. So that is a major benefit because we wanted to avoid a kind of a human errors. So we don't want anything to be happen manually. So we want everything to be worked only with, like we call it as there is a cloud native tool we call as a cloud CDK. So that is a cloud formation stack. And or we wanted to do with another third party tool. Yes, we could do also. So majorly, what we suggest for the client is that go with the cloud native tool. We call it as a cloud development toolkit or a third party tool you wanted to have or you have your team has been experienced with. Yes, you could go with the tool called Terraform also. So that is what we execute in the phases of the like the different sandbox environment at the initial phase. And next, like once it is all done, so what happens to the next? So how do we monitor? How do we like how do we get a kind of logs? What happens next? So in that case, like we'll be setting up like the cost, like you want to as we said, your infrastructure don't goes about $300 per month, for example. So $300, yes, you could set up a budget. So you could get an alert when your AWS cost usages exceed $300. Yes, we could go and finalize, go and analyze what is going to happen over there. We could do a kind of a cost monitoring over there. We could set up the cost explorers and budgets where you could get an alert where the team could go and see in the backend and go on to reduce the unwanted services that has been happening. So and in addition like to optimize your services, so like what you could do is that you don't want to run different several servers for a single application. We could have auto scaling group that has been set up where based on the demand of the input or demand of the traffic that has been happening, the system will automatically scale up the servers and it will keep growing. And when there is a less demand in your traffic or less demand in your application, automatically that will comes down and right size of optimization or right size of the server will be done. So it'll all be done. It'll all be included in the infrastructure as a service at there. And like, uh, can I get to the next server? Next slide, please. So these all comes under like the full scale migration and the optimization phase. And the final phase is that innovation and the continuous improvement plan. So as I mentioned, we are going to completely use AWS Cloud Native tool as a IAC tool. We use CDK, so Cloud Deployment Kit, and then everything will be automated. There is no manual work that has been happening into your infrastructure. And once it is all being done, a kind of a knowledge transfer, what we say, that will be provided to the client side. So we'll be providing a kind of a client side. So what happens is that you don't need to expect us all the time to help you. Yes, we help you after the post migration also. In case even after the thing, so you wanted to do it on your own, yes, we will train you. We could help you with all kind of the continuous learning. We could help you with training and certification with the AWS services, whatever you have, whatever that has been applied for your account. So that is also can be done. And as I was mentioning about the compliances and the compliances and the identity regulatory, yes, there are few services in AWS. We call it as security hub. So that security hub, that will be running into your whole AWS account. Whatever the logs that has been happening, whatever the best practices that has to be implemented, it will all be tracked and it will be shown as an alert. It will be sent to your personal emails. So you could see, like, if there is any unwanted, unauthorized access that has been happening, yes, you'll be getting an alert from AWS itself. So that kind of things you can be done. And like into your AWS infrastructure as a server, you wanted to check your vulnerabilities in your server. Yes, we have a service called AWS Inspector that can help you. So we could do a kind of a threat detection. Any threat that has been happening into your IAM user. So any unwanted usage has been happening. Yes, you could use a service called GuardDuty. So these are like the compliances what we do into your account, like during the migration when we get into the production part. So in this production part, this will be included with all the kind of phases. And also, like as we mentioned, we'll do a kind of a penetration testing, like load testing, performance testing, all kind of testing will be completed, and a report will be generated and it will be given to you. And on demand, if you have microservices, you wanted to expand your service, you have a small service, you don't want to run with a monolithic application, you wanted to have a microservices part. So in that case, we suggest you to go with a service called EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Services. Yes, we will help you to refactor your application, whether it is from EC2 to EKS or you have it from your on-premises to EKS. Yes, we could help you with all different kinds of refactoring of your application. So this is all the different phases where we started to do your migration from on-premises or from your any other cloud service provider into AWS. So this is the strategy of OneData, how we help you. And next phase, next slide, please. So about the technology stacks, like whatever we are good in. So these are the technology stacks. Any kind of programming language, your frameworks, or any kind of like the tools or services. Yes, we are being expertise. We have peoples with certified with all the different kinds of technologies. So that is all for me now, and I could hand over the session to Humberto.
Thank you, Sini. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
It was an amazing talk regarding how to migrate. Actually, to all the audience, I have shared a couple link call to actions here. Like you can follow us in our AWS quality content we're sharing in our LinkedIn company profile. Also, I have shared as well how you can learn more about the benefits to migrate to AWS Cloud. You can click on the transforming your data migration strategy with innovative tools. And also, we have a good surprise for you. Right now, you will be able to get $300 credit from AWS. This is an exclusive benefit we have bringing to you. So if you're ready, if you're willing to start thinking about your how your business is going to move to the digital transformation, this is the right moment. So I would like to know if you have any questions regarding how to migrate, how to start, how we AR create globals and partners, and one day they can help you in this transition move to the cloud. So we can have right now a couple minutes to get engaged with you. Okay, perhaps we have no questions. However, we appreciate all your time and all the efforts to be here. We will put this on the chat as well. If you're ready to have a AWS migration meeting, you can book in 30 minutes, and we'll be more than happy to help you. I appreciate all of you to be here with us, and hopefully see you in the next webinar together. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, ARK Global Partners. Thank you, Sini. Thank you, Parwis, all the team here. Rakesh, Michael, Ryan, all the team, the audience have joined us. Thank you as well, and have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Humberto.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.